Jane's the one
I
who will be like, I'll be like, I like this movie, and Jane's like, well, that's stupid.
All right, I'm your cult boyfriend. Today I'm joined by a couple people. Got Elaine, got Jane, and I got Isabel. How are you three doing today? Today we're covering top 10 most underrated directors from WatchMojo.com. Jane and Elaine, we did underrated films, right? No?
Yeah, you're being talked to.
Am I really?
Let's just start over again. That's fine.
Zach
Was I?
literally just talked to you, and you just stared at the camera
You
blankly.
muted him for a
I was
second.
trying to turn him up.
You were trying to turn him up, and then you just muted the computer.
Zach and I were already done. Like,
All right, let's just start over again.
We don't have to start over. I can
Like,
redo that. No, this is all staying in. What are you talking about? Did we do the top 10 most underrated films last time, Jane and Elaine?
well,
Yes.
no, it was top 20.
Top 20. Okay, yeah. Um,
Oh,
all right,
no,
so this is a
I
good
meant
good little
20.
follow-up, but we never said in that video, like what would you consider to be underrated anyway? I know it's a purely subjective thing, but like what would you call an
Sato.
underrated thing? Well, I mean,
Sato.
describe it. Like
Okay. I mean, I would guess I would describe something that's underrated as like something that is like just not gotten an appropriate kind of like reception, I guess.
S- I see it kind of as like a blend between maybe kind of like maybe like people are aware of it, but they kind of just overlook it. But personally, I feel like judging things by whether or not they're underrated is a little bit kind of like who cares because it's like that's just like it seems like you're more like assessing like the audience and kind of like their taste and kind of preferences more than like the actual film sometimes. And I don't know. I think I'm perfectly fine with some films like not. I don't know. I'm cool with some films being on the kind of the not on everybody's radar, I guess. But I would say like an underrated film would probably be something like Gus Van Sant's like Jerry or something like that.
I can see that, yeah.
what
Or
Yeah.
about an
blonde.
underrated filmmaker? Do you guys have any up your sleeve? Just
Underrated filmmaker? Who'd you say?
Uh,
Like I mean like it
I
depends
could
what
think of two off the top of my head.
sure, go ahead.
I
go.
was gonna say us,
Us.
but on a real note, uh, underrated filmmaker, I would probably, I guess I would be like
Well,
Jack Chambers or someone like that.
Ju
Fair.
like Benning or something, James Benning or something like that.
I guess.
I mean, I
I,
don't
I
know.
don't
Or
even know
like
if I could call James Benning underrated though, because everyone that
I
knows him
don't know.
about him likes him.
But this
This is
is the
what the
kind of
problem I have with the descriptor is that it's like it's kind of just directors I like that other people don't like, and I don't know how else to define it
right.
than that. Because
yeah, but
like
then there's always going to be things that you like that other people don't like, or at least I hope so, kind of in
exactly,
taste.
and they're all
So
underrated because I'm God. But no, I mean, because it's hard to say, especially now, because with the way people have access to movies, I don't know how you can say things are like underappreciated because even a director that's like unheard of in the mainstream has like thousands of fans because they saw a YouTube video about it.
maybe
So
maybe I think that the guy that did like Spirit of the Beehive or somebody would be like
that's
underrated.
fair.
Like Erice, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Well, it's all subjective, right? Because
Nick
I would say like
Cimino.
Jules Dassin is underrated, but it's not like no one knows what Rififi is. It's just that I think he should
Yeah,
be as
that's what I
respected
mean.
as Hawks,
Yeah,
like
or
Yeah,
himself.
like
or like
That's what I
Nicky
mean.
Cimino
uh,
being a little bit underrated, I guess you could
right, because
say.
like Chimino's known for like Deer Hunter mainly, but then it's like
Well, Deer Hunt and Heaven's
Yeah,
Gate. Let's not
Chimino's
forget.
fantastic. I mean, off the top of my head, just like direct a director, I think that isn't like watched a lot is Fouillade because everyone knows vampires, Les Vampires, but I don't
Right.
Oh,
see
I need
people
to
about
see
like.
that still.
But like his other
It's
movies aren't talked about much. It's really just Les Vampires is kind of canonized, but
It's
I
just
feel
all
like his
about
other
like
work.
it's all about context. Like I would even call Roger
Yeah,
Avery underrated only because we think of Quentin Tarantino when we think of his name. Like it's all just
yeah,
context. I don't know. Like
true.
yeah. I
yeah.
mean,
There's also
a
like
lot
Rob
of my
Zombie
pick.
and stuff like that. Just
Yeah,
people who have
but
bad raps.
I
people like Zob Zombie at least has an audience. It's like
Well,
I don't
that's what
really
I'm
know how
saying
to
is like who
define it.
doesn't have an audience? they all have audiences
Well,
if they're
well,
making
we'll
movies.
find out soon in this
Well, the
video,
people
right?
All
who
right.
I was going to say like even like snuff film directors don't have audiences, but
Snuff
then
film director?
On that
well, I was
note,
just
we
like, never
can.
mind.
Yeah, let's start. Let's start.
Yeah,
I
the
want
most
to
under.
actually see because I'm curious. I'm curious, so let's
All
see.
right.
Love that intro.
Really?
Oh, it's such a good.
RESPECT. These filmmakers deserve more of it.
I thought, it could be like an untapped gold mine of stuff.
Welcome to
fucking
WatchMojo.com.
Australian
Down our picks for the top 10
piece of
most
shit, am I
underrated
right?
movie
Elaine?
directors.
Edgar Wright, the
Edgar
most
Wright,
underknown
underrated.
director of all
Riches from, like,
time.
the finest young comedy actors in Hollywood.
For this list, we're focusing on established filmmakers who don't get enough credit for their work on the big screen, which means we're excluding stage and television directors.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Okay, you know
Number
who was
10,
actually
Lynne.
underrated? It's television directors. They're
Yeah,
underrated
true.
as fuck. They never get included. Lynne Ramsay? She did that Joaquin Phoenix movie, right?
Ratcatcher.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one. That one's okay, but she also did a really shitty movie called We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Oh, she did that. Okay. I don't care about her. I'm sorry. Hey,
I think what is it called? Morven Collar and Ratcatcher are both great movies.
mhm.
What we need to talk about Kevin. I thought it was okay, but like
I could not stand that movie.
why
I
not?
thought it's such a juvenile depiction of like the subject that it like is trying to capture, like this just idea of like an ultimate evil is just like so childish. Like I'll never forget they try to have this school shooter movie where it's like there's a scene where he's like a little boy and he just shits himself to annoy his mom. And I think that's just like the most fucking obnoxious thing that someone could do for like this kind of subject.
I thought it was really
I have no
contrived and like just I didn't like it at all.
I
Oh,
thought-
it's
I've only seen
disgusting.
her short films for the record.
Oh, I haven't seen her short films. But Morven.
Those are the only things I've seen. I have not seen a
Morven-
single
the
feature
short
by
film?
her.
Yeah, Morven Collar. I don't know or whatever it's called is like I think it's like easily her best. I think that's like actually like really interesting. I definitely recommend that one. Ratcatcher is good.
Ratcatcher was always the
Um,
one I was interested in.
Ratcatcher is pretty good, but I actually think her second one's her best movie. But I
Did
didn't watch.
Ratcatcher first?
I think so.
Okay.
But yeah, I think like I think I want to watch some of her short films. They look pretty good, but I don't know. She seems like the type to kind of like the more funding she gets, the more crazy she
worse
gets,
she
and
gets?
yeah, possibly. I don't know.
I don't know if
I don't
she's
know. I'm
like
willing to get.
underrated. I don't see her in discourse at all because I don't really recognize the name.
Well, people
I-
get
I
excited when
guarantee-
a movie of hers comes out.
No, she's like the type that every frame of painting would make a video on just so he can pretend that
Yeah,
he
or
likes
like Channel
women.
Cresswell or something.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's going to be this entire list is directors that aren't actually
Well, I saw
doing
Edgar
poorly.
Wright selling this, and
That's what I mean. It's like it's going to be
Well,
like Edgar
That
Wright,
depends on
Andrew
the well,
Dominik,
how high do you think his placement's gonna be?
it's gonna be high.
number
Yeah.
one.
Number one.
Before we continue, I want to ask, where do we think Rob Reiner's gonna be on this list?
I don't know. He's
Not
in the
at all.
thumbnail.
Is he?
They might have suckered us in with clickbait. He might be an honorable mention.
They always
Okay.
do that.
We're the
What
Rob
were you saying,
Reiner
Zach?
crew, and they're just teasing us.
Let's
But you
go.
ready
This
for
is also gonna be the only woman on the list, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
unless Karin Kusama gets in
3.
here, but I don't know if people are going crazy for Jennifer's body yet. But I'm
7
ready.
years ago, not so much. I doubt it.
Yeah,
I mean, what else has she made outside of that?
the
But she just like
invitation.
invitation. Yeah, it's good.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Never mind.
Alright.
All right, let's continue.
Ramsay.
No, this is Morven Collar.
This Scottish filmmaker may not be at the top of your Netflix queue, but she's well respected amongst her industry peers.
You don't understand, Marvin. We are lost in the middle of nowhere.
God, I hate
wanna
that
go back.
accent.
Lynne Ramsay's short film,
Yo, that's
Small
my
Deaths,
people, bro.
stunned
That's-
audiences in
Oh,
Cannes
God, I
and
feel
I'm
bad
Scottish
for you.
too,
and her
but I can
feature-length
acknowledge
debut,
the.
She's part
Ratcatcher,
Scottish,
became an
so-
instant classic
Yeah.
just 3 years later. With a poignant sensory style and complete devotion to her vision, Ramsay's small but powerful filmography packs an emotional punch, and Hollywood's elite actors are lining up for a chance to work with this directional wonder.
Joaquin Phoenix and Ezra Miller.
Tilda Swinton and John C. Reilly.
There goes.
Number 9, Andrew
They would
Dominik.
change their
Fucking
opinions
knew
so
it.
fast.
I fucking
They
knew
would
it.
change their opinions so fast if
So
this
this is
was made not
pre-Blonde,
7
right?
years ago. This is very yeah.
This
This
is
is
7 years ago,
pre-Blonde.
so
This is also pre One More Time with Feeling. So
This is just
I haven't
Jesse
heard of
James and Killing Them Softly and whatever I'm looking
Yeah.
at
yeah,
now.
and Chopper,
Which
which they're showing right here.
I've only seen Jesse James, but it's also like one of my favorite films of that decade for the record.
It's a brilliant film. It
Yeah,
is an
I adore that
absolutely
film.
brilliant film.
I don't know. I feel
Um,
like I feel
I
like
do want to.
even yeah. I mean, I haven't seen Killing. I've only seen. Well, I've seen most of Jesse James, but that was years ago. So it's Jesse James and Blonde is what I've seen. But maybe Killing Them Softly is good. But kind of like what my general impression of Dominic is that at least with Jesse James, which I think was like an Oscar nominee, right? Like he's
Hmm.
like I don't know if I can really call him I don't know if I can really call him underrated if he's like it gets an Oscar nom.
Yeah, it's not just that,
Again,
but like
I think this is going to be the
you can
entire
call
list.
it.
Is like Oscar nominated directors that people can watch on Netflix readily is going to be the entire list. Like
Okay,
I
what if like Michael
They're not gonna
Snow is
be
like number one?
Michael Snow, and then Sato is number 2,
Oh
and
geez.
whoever directed Wet
oh,
Highway is number 3.
No, that's not gonna
I
work.
haven't, by the way, seen Blonde.
It's great.
But
Yeah, I mean,
I
I feel like, but even with
or the
like
Nick Cave
Blonde being,
films, by the way. I haven't seen those either yet, but
I've
I
only
love Nick
seen
Cave, so I
One
Oh,
should.
More
I've
Time with
seen those.
Feeling, and it's devastating.
so I don't know. I think like as much as I like Blonde, I feel like with Andrew Dominic making an Oscar nominated film, I don't think that I could in good faith call him underrated.
Yeah,
I
I feel like that automatically kind of just like discredits you a little bit for being underrated.
Yeah. Oh well.
Well, right now it's just a
I
list of the top 10 most annoying accents I've ever heard. We went from Scottish to Australian.
I
Oh my
do
goodness.
think like if our metric is entirely like I like this director and I think they
So,
deserve more credit. Maybe 7 years ago I might have said that about Andrew Dominic, if only because he only had like one knockout movie thus far, and then Killing Them Softly, which I always hear people say, even people that like Jesse James are like, yeah, it's good, but
It's
like
it's not
I
good.
never I never I never hear people put it
I've heard
like
some.
as high or as good as Jesse James. So I have to imagine at this point in time, it was a topic of discussion if he was like just a one-hit wonder would do actually interesting things. So, I mean, to put that in
yeah.
context for
Well,
7 years ago, I can see the placement a little bit more, but now it's a little
Yeah.
ridiculous, I think, just because
Hmm.
become pretty mainstream. He's got like two Nick Cave movies, and you know.
we got Netflix too. I mean, Netflix advertises Blonde like crazy,
Yeah.
regardless. Like,
I think it's
I
because
don't
they might
know.
have realized that he's becoming like, because of Jesse James, like something of a cult figure, at least online. But I don't even know if I would really call him that. But I'm sure, like to Netflix people, he kind of had that energy, maybe of like a possible author in the making or something like that. Which
Yeah, and now he's ruined now he's just seen as a devil in the eyes of many people because
Yeah,
of fucking Blonde.
but I don't know. I feel like that film might get more of a cult following over time, though.
No, I agree. It's gonna be like Brown
So it's
Bunny.
gonna go by like they're gonna end up saying that because like WatchMojo is for hacks, so they're gonna go saying that Blonde is bad, and they're gonna say Blonde is good in a few years. This is what it's gonna be. So,
The average man on the street, it doesn't worry about Chopper Reed.
With a
have
style
you seen
steeped in
Chopper?
criminality
I
and
haven't, but I really
existential
want to.
dialogue, this New Zealand-born Australian director delivered a cult hit with his 2000 debut, Chopper.
This one looks really
I've
fucking
never
good
seen
though.
Chopper. I'm gonna be real. I didn't even know it
he wasn't even born
existed.
in Australia. He was born in New Zealand.
Not only did the film
It's
introduce
double
Eric
lame.
Bana to the world, but also announced the arrival of a most promising new talent behind the camera.
Who's Becky?
Oh, for God's sake, leave her alone!
Brad Pitt joined forces with Andrew Dominik for the 2007 Western,
Okay.
The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward
I
Robert
find it
Ford,
weird to
and once
like
again
just
for the
like
2012
briefly
sleeper
show
hit,
clips of
Killing
like
Them
domestic
Softly.
abuse. And then
Yeah.
realize the next thing.
They did like the same thing for Lynne Ramsay.
That was just a normal Australian family dispute.
The cinema world may have an
I
abundance
do
of
respect that he
cookie-cutter
was able to
crime
get
thrillers,
Brad
but the
Pitt
world
to
also has
back him
Andrew
so
Dominik.
hard that early in his career.
I'm living in America.
Oh yeah, isn't
In
Killing Them
America, you're
Softly
on
like
your
slightly
It's
conservative?
not a country.
So I've been
Just
told, but
business.
again, I don't know anything really.
Well, I've
Can
heard
pay
people
me.
say that about like
Number 8,
Blonde. I don't
David
know.
Gordon Green.
Uh,
Really?
All right, another filmmaker who, in due time, their opinions should probably be changed because of the fucking Halloween movies.
Yeah.
he I first heard of this guy because he made a movie about a guy who it was set in my parents' town, like the town my parents are
Oh,
originally
really?
from. Yeah. And like Jake Gyllenhaal came here to talk to people at the time. But and also Joe. Didn't he make that movie Joe with Nick Cage?
He
Did
might
he?
have.
Oh, yeah, he did. You're right.
For the record, I have not seen a single David Gordon Green movie. But only because
Me
like
neither.
for the past 4 years or 3 or 4 years, whatever, I forget when it
I did
started, but when
Pineapple
those Halloween
Express.
cycles
Did,
started,
oh, yeah,
e-
you're right.
ever since the Halloween movies reboot started, like every year I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll watch it just to like check it off. And then I keep telling myself I'm gonna do that all October, and then I never do it. And then I keep saying this is the year I'll just watch them just to be caught up with whatever people are watching today. And then I just can't bring myself to do it. I just don't care.
The only one I
I'm
saw was
like,
Halloween, and I really didn't like it. At least I think
I
that's the
just
only one I saw.
I kept wanting to force myself to watch it just to be like
The
somewhat
Sitter?
contemporary and
Have you
knowing what
met?
people who like horror movies are actually watching today. But it's like I cannot bring myself to care.
Yeah, what do you want to bet? They're only going to show clips from fucking George Washington, which I've
Joe,
been
I
wanting.
think is like at the time this was made, people were saying Joe was like a cult movie in the making or something. I recall because I was like very
Who
online
talks
at the
about
time.
Joe anymore, though?
At the time this was made though, definitely because I
Pineapple
remember
Express. We don't
being
have
like
that on here.
I was like grossly online back when this video dropped. I remember people who always wanted to be cool were like, "Oh yeah, Joe, movie of the year." It was like a
Yeah,
constant thing. They were trying to turn it into a cult movie and it never really happened. People kind of forgot about it after 2015.
I know for
But
this guy from Pineapple Express and The Sitter.
Oh, he
So,
made
what a
Pineapple
I
weird
knew
Express?
him from
career.
George Washington.
yeah,
I'm also
I
looking
did.
at his filmography and it has this too. Our brand is crisis. I have no idea what the fuck he is.
I
I
mean,
don't know. He just
But
seems like an enigma. He just does a lot.
I'm gonna say, as someone who doesn't watch his movies, just from the outside, he just kind of strikes me as like an industry hack dude who's like really good at convincing people he's an auteur, but he's really just doing studio jobs.
This
But
movie right
I don't know.
here.
My friend Rowan says it's pretty good. He says Halloween Kills is great, but I don't really trust
yeah,
him in a lot of stuff.
I was
So
gonna say stop talking to that
Acting
person,
together.
probably is what Zach would say.
you guys
Yeah,
ready to go?
this is
Yeah.
yeah.
yep.
Three, two, one, go.
I mean, it's a thought that counts.
Southern crisis and social unrest
This
It
movie
is
unraveled
might
striking to
be
me
beneath the
that
better
early
off.
two of
films
the
I've
of
heard
three
great
Rian
so
things
far
about
and
we've
this
sophomore
seen
filmmakers,
This
have
but
movie's
all
actually
still
better.
eventually gone
allowing
on
to
to be
open
like
the
big
comedic
budget
gates of
directors.
Hollywood.
What?
I love you!
You what?
I love you!
Why would you say that?
The late Roger
Walt
Ebert
Schneider's really
praised
cool. He
David
was great
Gordon
in Jesse
Green's feature
James.
debut, George Washington,
Oh
while
yeah, you're
He's
actors
right.
really
I
quickly
forgot he
followed
was
on
in
surprising
All
in
the
it.
Real Girls, cementing his
I
place
always
as
forget
the
he's in
hit
it when I
filmmaker.
rewatch it, and then I'm
He's
like,
so
oh
good. Like
shit.
Explain to me that that's
Charles
just
Little or
something that you
something.
did.
Dick Little.
This is
Dick
Yeah,
something
Little's name.
yeah.
that you did.
I think he's
I
one of the
love
ones that
you.
wants to kill
That's
Jesse
how
near
I
the
feel.
end
Mm-hmm.
originally.
Green
Like he's the
crossed
one
over to
that's like, we
comedy
gotta
with the
cut him
2008
loose.
hit Pineapple Express and
I'm not gonna
directed the
lie,
uproarious
these clips of
HBO
the
series
selection aren't really
Eastbound and
selling me
Down.
on the
The
movies.
possibilities are
Yeah, he's
endless,
Yeah.
picking
and
like the
David Gordon
weakest
Green has a
moments from
ticket
the
to
weakest
ride.
movies.
I do like Pineapple Express. I didn't know he did that. But I don't think of like
The movie's really good.
auteurism
I
when
haven't
I'm
seen it.
watching it.
Yeah, the auteur classic Pineapple Express.
Yeah, right.
1, 2, 3, go.
Number 7, Kelly Reichardt.
I was wondering if she'd be here actually.
All right, all right.
Okay.
This is kind of a
I
stretch.
love this filmmaker, so that's
Me
actually a
too.
pretty good choice.
I need to watch more of her work though. I really do. But
I've seen Old Joy. I've seen Wendy and
Oh,
Lucy.
Joe's really good.
First Cow is pretty great. Certain Women is also pretty great.
Yeah, I like certain
Um,
women the most.
Yeah, she made
I
Meek's
really
Cutoff.
liked Meek's Cutoff. Meek's
I
Cutoff
haven't
I
seen that
thought
one
was
yet. That
pretty.
one looks amazing.
I think
I think it's
7 years
actually the
ago she
only
was
one I've
underrated
seen.
for sure.
Yeah, I've only
Yeah,
seen
for
Meek's
sure.
Cutoff and then I think some of her short films and that's it. But
Well,
I've
isn't she
wanted to
making? She's
see.
making a new film now as well.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
is. It's dropping soon. The trailer just dropped.
I think
I
she's a great
really want to see
director.
Certain Women. Certain Women is like
Certain
been high
Women's
on
my
my
Oh,
list.
favorite
it's
one.
great. You're gonna love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I don't know. I think
I
she
love a
takes
director.
influence.
I love a director who works with Michelle Williams every chance she gets. So
Yeah, I knew you were
Literally,
going.
Yeah, that's like their
I
muse, basically.
Exactly. I
I
understand. I get it.
I do think that she has like a lot of influence from directors I like, so I kind of respect the
Hmm.
aesthetic she's going for. I also respect that
Oh
even
yeah.
like the previous two on this list, like were all directors that later went on to like bigger budget or more like mainstream work, and I kind of respect that Kelly Reichardt is still like relatively in the indie scene. I mean, you can
Yeah.
debate to what extent
Yeah.
indie is really
No,
indie anymore, but I respect that she's keeping it low key still. Like First Cow struck me at
she is
least
keeping
based
it
on
low
the
key,
footage I
but
saw.
she is working with like A24 and stuff like that now for like the past
Uh,
two.
That's what I mean.
No,
Although I
she's
kind of respect that
still
she's
turning out
sticking
good
to her
stuff, right?
guns,
Yeah, I think
you
First Cow
know?
is pretty good.
Because even
Yeah.
when people tend to go for A24, you kind of see their style become a little more homogenized, and I respect that. At least what I've seen of First Cow looks like it still looks like Kelly
Yeah.
Reichardt, like it doesn't look like she's selling out, which I respect.
Would
Oh
you
Um,
yeah.
would you call her an underrated director?
no idea, because as we established,
I think it's a decent pick at
underrated is
least.
just I
I
like this
wasn't expecting
director and
her.
you don't.
Surprising
So
pick.
I said like 7 years ago for sure. I think that's in the last seven
Yeah.
years she's found her audience. She's found like a whole cult of people who really like her.
yeah, I can say
Mm-hmm.
7 years ago, if you told me like I think this is a director who doesn't get a lot of attention yet, but will down the line, yeah, I'd agree with you.
That's fair.
I
Okay.
want now. I just want to see Kaveh Zahedi on here because I think he's underrated.
Yeah, we'll see.
He has an audience, but like he's also just the most
He's not gonna
unlikable.
be on here.
I only reference him because
Okay.
I remembered Will
Yeah,
Oldham.
I feel like
He's
a
friends
lot.
with him, and Will
Yeah.
Oldham's an old joy, and that film is
Oh, okay.
brilliant. It's one of my all-time
I f-
favorites.
I feel like a lot of these are gonna be on here only if the directors have worked with really established actors
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of feel that we're looking at. But anyways, let's go.
All right.
Three, two,
Three.
one, and go.
Reichardt.
Excuse me, has anyone seen a dog? She was tied out front this morning.
This is a great movie.
The year
Mhm.
You know, if
1954
that
ushered in
woman
a
on
new
the screen
cinematic
was
talent
like,
who
say, a
earned
mom with
international
bleach
accolades
blonde
for her
hair,
debut, River of Grass.
I'd be
And
pretty
Oh my
into
God.
that.
I'd sit at my window for
I-
hours,
Oh, I love
just
Michelle.
waiting for a nice couple in a big
Spielberg
station
watched
wagon
that
to
movie and
come
was
and
like,
take
"Ooh,
these kids away.
she reminds me
Mommy.
of my
However, it would be
mom."
another 12
Yeah.
years
Oh my
until
God.
Reichardt made another feature, but what a powerful one it was.
You see everything you
I
just
love
went
that
through,
movie.
and
This
it
is
all
such a
like
brilliant
comes
film.
together.
Old Joy examined themes of
I've had a
friendship
few friends
and
tell me I'd
paternal
like it a
anxiety,
lot.
while her next two road
It's
trip films
brilliant.
It's
starred
like
the
about
ultra-talented
positive
Michelle Williams
masculinity.
in Wendy and Lucy
Well, it's also
and
just
Pete's
like about
Cutoff.
it's like positive masculinity.
That's
Like
this movie. That's really good.
I didn't
Yeah,
realize it
Meeks is
came out in
so good.
2010.
You'll know our mounds, Jimmy.
Reichardt's subtle exploration of the human
Quentin
element and
Tarantino
political
hated that movie.
undertones make her one of
Well,
the
he has
most
Number
shitty
one,
taste,
filmmakers
kind of.
in
Tarantino.
modern cinema.
Night moves.
Oh yeah, I remember people saying Jesse Eisenberg's
Number
intimidating
6,
in this.
Martin McDonagh.
Yeah, that was a
This is also
typical.
pre Three Billboards.
This is pre three billboards in fairness,
Yeah, so I was gonna say
but
Three
even
Billboards
before
is straight up one of my least favorite movies of the last decade.
but this is pre before that. It says before he got a lot of attention, but there was In Bruges, which most people like, but then he had
Yeah.
Seven Psychopaths.
No one
Which
talks
I
about that one in this filmography. It's like In Bruges, Three Billboards, Banshees now, and no one talks
Has
about
he made
Seven
anything
Psychopaths.
else? So they had two films
That's
on
it. That's it.
and
That's his whole
people didn't
filmography.
like Seven Psychopaths, I don't think.
People were like
my
mixed on
partner
it.
is actually a big fan of it.
Like Seven Psychopaths. And
Really?
I loved In
Yeah, my
Bruges.
partner is a big fan of Seven Psychopaths. I like In
Are
Bruges.
they
I also, fun fact, I saw a play written by Martin McDonagh that he might make into a movie at some point.
Was it good?
But I saw that was actually pretty good. It was a pretty good. It was more like In Bruges, where it's like the whole joke is that like it's pretty like mundane until it just becomes really nihilistic. It's
Like,
kind of
I think yeah. Well, I think like Three Billboards is just cringe lord shit.
Never
It is
watched
oh, it's
pretty.
the most
It's like feels very centrist in a
horrible.
weird way.
It's
Yeah,
horrible. It's really
but I
like
think
borderline
I think In
offensive to
Bruges
me.
In Bruges is like pretty consistently fun
I
and
love In
funny.
Bruges. I
I
think
have
it's
Oh,
fucking
it's
great.
so funny. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Oh, In Bruges
That's
is
why
really
I'm like,
very well written.
that's why like if I had only seen In Bruges and then 7 years ago I saw this on the list, I'd be like, fair enough. I think Martin McDonagh's pretty cool. I think he'll probably do a lot of movies I like, and then he never did again. But that's besides the point. This
Well,
is what
have you seen Banshees yet?
2015. No, I want
I've
to
heard good
just
things
to
about
catch up.
Banshees from people I respect,
I've heard
so
it's like I've heard it's like very different from like the rest of his other work.
A few friends of mine that actively hate a lot of his work all said I actually liked it. So I was like, oh, maybe I will actually like it, but
Yeah,
we'll
it seems
see.
like it seems like he's like taking a more mature route with his like filmography rather than trying to just be like a crime or like whatever kind of edgy
Yeah.
filmmaker.
I mean, I kind of wish he stayed to being an edgy filmmaker because I feel like that's more honest than making billboards. Because three billboards is trying to be politically
Well, that
conscious
movie
and
is edgy
contemporary.
though.
Yeah, the whole dental
Yeah, but it's
part where
not
like
as trying to be, you know? Like Martin McDonagh thinks he's
Yes,
doing
it
his
yeah,
is.
it is. I
sober,
mean, well, yeah,
people-pleasing
it's like
movie.
it's like the cop has to like commit suicide, and he commits suicide by fucking shooting his head.
I
That's not even the edgiest part of the movie.
There's a dental scene that was like one of the worst scenes. There's the part where she kicks the kids in the balls. There's the
well,
part. There's the part where
I
they
think Three Billboards is his
where they
attempt to do a
long track
people-pleasing populist movie, and he just fails because he can't stop doing his
they
dumb
do like
shit.
this like long take of the guy like being all sad boy and the marching into another place and beating a guy up, and it's like,
I'm
oh,
just getting mad again thinking
police
about that movie.
brutality
It's
as
fucking
catharsis.
awful.
It's so stupid.
That movie's awful.
It's
It's like
bad.
really awful. It's
I really need to rewatch it because I have
you
no idea
really
People still
don't.
like
I'm
that,
gonna
by the
be
way.
honest, you
Yes,
don't.
I've seen
You
people
have
who watch it again. I've
Elaine,
seen
you
people on
have
Twitter
so
be
much
like,
you only have so much time left in your life. Don't spend it watching Three Billboards again. It's not worth it.
well, I have more time in my life than you guys, so
Oh, no.
Guys, ready?
I'm young,
Zach's
I'm
gonna
dumb, I'll do it
outlive
however I
all of us.
want.
Zach's gonna
That's
outlive
fair.
all of us. What are you talking about?
But I'll be miserable.
Alright.
But
Zach's gonna be like 99. Like, I'm still making these videos.
oh my God.
That's
Oh, also
Well, that
Colin
might be
Farrell
true.
hot. So
As one
yeah.
of the United Kingdom's
Brendan
preeminent
Gleeson
playwrights,
hot,
this
you
British
fucking
Irishman
pleb.
crossed over to film and won an Academy Award in 2006
I
for his
respect
live-action
that.
short entitled Six Shooter.
The two hottest leading
Oh
men.
yeah, this
That's
one.
right.
I haven't seen it yet.
Just 2 years later,
Colin Farrell
his
and
feature-length debut in Bruges won over critics with dazzling performances by Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson as bickering hitmen, and was a screenplay that was honored by the Academy with a nomination.
Doesn't sound very
yeah.
underrated to me.
Okay, not underrated then.
It really doesn't.
Well, he's a bit of
Cock.
McDonagh's films are accessible to all, but also appeal to die-hard cinephiles in both style and substance.
Forget about
What do you think as diehard
That doesn't sound
cinephiles?
very underrated.
What do you think about that
But-
style of
Yeah,
substance?
funny, I know.
Yeah, you diehard cinephile.
And I like this dog.
Number 5, Walter Hill.
Oh, yo, that's pretty base. All right.
Wait, I actually haven't heard of Walter Hill. What have they done?
He did the Warriors.
Oh.
Oh no.
The
I'm
Warriors,
dressed up like a character.
the driver, which Refn basically cribbed for Drive.
I've heard of. I did not know he directed those.
Yeah, he
my
did those.
coworker's telling me. My coworker's been telling me for ages that I need to see the Warriors.
Warriors is great. The Driver is even better. The Driver is, especially if you like Isabelle Adjani, she's in it and she's
Oh, really?
amazing.
So the writer of this list was like, "Hey, Dad, who's an underrated director?" And he's like, "How about the guy did 48 Hours and Red Heat?"
I was gonna say he also did Streets of Fire, Southern Comfort. I've only seen a few of his movies,
I
but
don't think he's
I saw.
underrated. I don't even think
Oh
he's
no,
good.
he's 1 billion% not underrated. I feel like he would have been underrated in like 1985, but then the 90s. The problem is that the 90s were the era of people who like guys like Walter Hill becoming the mainstream, and so I feel like this liking Walter Hill became mainstream a decade before this video was made. But
Well,
like
like
a decade, 2 decades before, yeah, sure, he was underrated, but
that's fair.
um,
Well, like outside of the Warriors, I don't really hear people talk about his movies that much, other than like.
Maybe he's underrated.
no one talked about The Driver until Nicholas Winding Refn made Drive, and then all the people came out to say like, oh, he ripped off Walter Hill. I'm like, bro, you never talked about Walter Hill until a week ago, but you did as soon
That
as
is
someone
true.
ripped him off. As soon
I
as
actually
Drive
remember
dropped,
seeing
everyone was
like.
like scoffing and being like, "Oh, you heathens! You didn't appreciate Walter Hill." It's like, bro, you didn't talk about him.
I don't care. Refn made a much better film.
Oh no, I mean,
I
I am a Refn defender to the grave. I just think Drive is barely one of his top 5 movies, so I don't really care.
And I love
But
that movie. I think it's a lot better than Driver. That's all I'm saying.
Driver I think is probably better, but I kind of just like how broad strokes it is. I like how um it's kind of just a very distanced movie, and I kind of like that. But Drive, I no shame. I will die for Refn's honor. So, but Warriors is great. Warriors is fucking phenomenal. Um, he kind of feels like the archetypal, I think, director of that era. Like if you're into these kind of like New York, LA set crime films of the 70s and 80s, he feels like very archetypal. Like he kind of is the generic form of that, but in a more positive way than that makes it sound. That sounds kind of backhanded,
I
but I
think
mean
he's
that
perfectly
good.
Are
fine
you gonna die on that?
being underrated in his mansion. I think he's fine.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah, again, he was underrated in the 80s. He's not underrated anymore. He's pretty
are
well
you
liked.
going to are you going to die on that hill?
Which hill?
The Walter Hill.
Walter Hill.
That y'all die on Walter Hill.
You
And
guys
he's
ready?
coming back soon, by the way. He's dropping
Oh,
a movie for the first time in ages
it's
soon.
gonna suck.
Oh, really?
Oh wait, no, he already did. It came out like a few months ago.
It sucked, I guess.
It was a Western. I kind of heard it's okay.
What was it called?
I don't know. Hold on. Dead for a Dollar. It
Wow.
stars Christoph Waltz, Willem Dafoe.
Okay, it
So
So he
seems
said,
right.
Tarantino, give me your Rolodex, you owe me.
he made a hour and 40-minute Western called Dead for a Dollar. I'm sure it is the least reflexive Western of all time. I'm sure it is like just like literally him trying to make a Western they made them like 60 years ago, as if that kind of thing isn't dead anymore. But regardless,
Oh boy.
yeah, nothing but respect for Walter Hill. Not underrated, but he's a great director.
No,
I
I
have
don't.
not seen any of his. I have not seen any
We
of
should
his.
watch The Warriors soon.
I'll maybe watch The Warriors, but I have not seen any of
I
his movies. I don't
highly
think,
recommend
and
it.
I'm
I
not
have
a
like
fan.
really next to no interest in them either. But I'll watch The Warriors sometime.
Can you count, suckers? Whether it's a sci-fi or a comedy, his films have become cult
This movie at
classics.
least looks gay.
It was whenever that movie came out, everyone was gay.
Walter Hill wrote
79,
friend
yeah,
said that's like
1979,
such a
everyone was
punch.
gay.
Tried to implicate me in it.
But took to the
Hated the
directorial chair
drowning
for his
pool.
1979 sensation.
Now I have hope that we're
Drowning.
gonna see John McTiernan or something.
Hill's stripped-down Western themes bring a
He
unique
shouldn't.
versatility
The
to
guy
his
made
work. And
Die
his
Why?
Hard
He's
writing
great.
style
The guy who made
Predator.
Die Hard and
He's
Predator
definitely not
shouldn't be here.
underrated, but like I want to talk about John McTiernan, so I don't give a
Murphy
fuck.
made his
You can
masterpiece
just change the
Hill's
subject to
1982
John
film,
McTiernan at
48
any
Hours,
time.
which
It's the
enhanced
Wild
the
West over
reputation of
here.
both star and director.
You know what I am? I'm your worst.
Kelly Reichardt's an interesting pick there. We'll give it that.
Yeah, I'm still with
I feel
Jane.
like
I'm
it
high
fits
off
the
of
vibe for
Kelly
Watch
Reichardt.
Walter Hill
Mojo.
began his career as an
I
assistant
feel like
director
Kelly
in the
Reichardt
late
is the
60s
most
and has been a
obscure
fan
people who
favorite
write for
ever
Watch
since.
Mojo get.
Can you
So.
dig it? Can you dig it? Number 4, Edgar
I
Wright.
knew it. I fucking knew it. Go ahead.
Right. So 7 years ago, that was before, of course, Last
He's
Night.
still
So
not underrated.
yeah, I know.
It's still
Before Last
no.
Night's
Even if we
episode.
were talking a decade ago, he wasn't underrated. He was so
Yeah,
fucking
because
mainstream.
it's just because Scott Pilgrim flopped as it should have.
Yeah, exactly.
People
Even
like, okay,
before Scott Pilgrim, he was mainstream.
okay.
Like he.
I do kind of like Shaun of the Dead. Okay, first
Shaun
of
of
all,
the
he's
Dead's
not.
hilarious.
I like his trilogy. I like his trilogy actually. Like all 3 of them. I think they're
I
great.
hate Hot Fuzz.
They're funny.
I think Edgar Wright
but
sucks.
that's the only thing I
Me
like that
too.
he's made.
I
I
think he
only
sucks
like
and
his
makes bad
trilogy.
movies.
Baby Driver
I know
is
you
like
kind of like Hot Fuzz, but
obscene.
watch it again. You know, it's not as good as you probably remember.
You're probably
No, Hot Fuzz
right,
is good.
honestly.
No, I like Hot Fuzz. I went back
Oh.
with that attitude. I thought I wasn't gonna like it, and I liked it again.
I hate it.
Well, no, I remember like watching it. I thought like it's like so like.
It's weird because I thought it was good satire, but I always thought
Oh,
the
the
action.
satire is awful. The satire is awful, and the action's terrible too.
No, I was saying like I thought it was like a decent satire, but I thought my biggest complaint was the action sucked.
No, because it kind of falls of like, oh, we're self-aware of like what genre we're doing, but then they're just doing that. And at least with Shaun of the Dead is kind of like at the service of kind of like it's almost like the friendship between him and like the the
he
other
does that
guy or
again
like
in The World's End because The World's End,
yeah,
like
and
the
World
thing they're
End
making fun of is
sucks.
like the least relevant thing to the story because
World
the
End
story is
sucks.
just
Like
about him being
it's
an
okay when they're just
alcoholic.
I honestly feel like that film would be better if they just like just it was just bar hopping the movie and then but then no
I
they have to
will.
introduce these half-assed aliens in it.
I actually just watched that movie for the first time. I was about to say what day it was, but I won't date this video. 2 days ago, and I liked it. I do think the last like
This
literally
is a
like two
fresh
minutes of the
bad take.
movie. I hate the last like 2 minutes of the movie because the whole movie was setting itself up as this thing about like enabling an alcoholism, and then it kind of like at the finale of the movie, it's just like anyway, it's an apocalypse movie now, and I'm like, you that wasn't necessary. You don't
Yeah, it
like.
was better how the first like act was.
I might agree. I might agree. I
No, yeah,
don't
it's
mind
like
the
seriously, like
sci-fi element. I just
the
think it
aliens
took
are the
it too
most
far.
uninspired thing ever, or the robots. I don't even remember. Like, it was so uninspired. Like, oh, they have blue goo or whatever. It's
I
so
don't mind
I
that.
bad.
I
remember
just
seeing the
wish it
Jeremy
didn't
Jahns
commit to
review
it.
for it back in the day, and I remember seeing his criticism was like the aliens fight like this, grabbing people. And I'm like, come
Yeah,
on.
well, I mean, honestly, I think Edgar Wright's terrible
I
at action
I do
direction.
think
Kind of is,
He
yeah.
keeps doing it.
Baby Driver is
Uh,
straight up, I think, one of the worst edited movies I've ever seen.
Baby
Um,
Driver's awful.
the thing that annoyed me about it was that it utterly fails at its set goal, which was to just be edited to the sync of the music, because I don't think it was actually edited in sync with the music, because when I saw it
No,
in
it
theaters, I
really.
was like trying to follow that, and I was like, I think it's out of sync, and it just gave me a headache trying to follow.
Yeah, no, it's like a mess, and also it's just like it says nothing. It's just like trying to be a cool driving movie. And then he made
Yeah.
Last Night in Soho, which is like,
I actually Last Night in Soho is like I think that there are moments that was good, but like the ending especially is like
oh
literally
my
terrible.
God, yeah, it's terrible. It's like the one of the most misogynistic things I've seen recently.
I feel like, and I'm not gonna like, I feel like most people that I see that like it are have been men, which is fine, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird.
I think that at least at the very least, Last Night in Soho does show some directing chops on
I
his
wanna
part that I haven't really seen as other movies. And Scott Pilgrim's just really annoying
I
as
was
I'm
about to
stuff.
say I want to know
Yeah,
what Zach thinks
I
of
rewatched that with
Scott
a
Pilgrim.
friend, and we were just like, yeah, this is kind of
I wonder what your audience will think of this video, Zach,
I
because we
I
all
really
kind of
want to
don't
know what
like
Zach
Pilgrim.
thinks of Scott Pilgrim.
I
Uh,
never watched it.
oh
good
no.
man. Yeah,
And
no,
it
it's weird because they also try to treat like Scott as like this stereotype for what a fucking hipster douchebag is
Th-
like. And then by the end of the movie he's just like doesn't learn his lesson and is
Well,
just
That's the
like
I
weird
don't
thing because like
know.
engrossed by it.
I did read the comic in high school and they do a much better job of making Scott empathetic in the comic to some degree because that by the end he kind of just has to deal with the fact that he's a piece of shit. Whereas the movie was like, what if we made him 10 times more a piece of shit and he never acknowledges it?
I think my
No,
Because
it's
audience
like
will
like
be. I've never
it's also
talked
kind
about
of funny
Edgar Wright
because
before.
the
it's
the
also
whole
kind of
thing with the
funny because
comic.
like near the end of the movie he's like, oh, time to fight my bad self, and then he's just like, all right, we're friends. Because it's like, yeah, no, he's a shitty person to begin with.
There was like this there's this I guess it was Avery Frame of Painting and I haven't watched his videos in a long time, but I think he retired anyway. But he made this video, it was like Edgar Wright, how to make visual comedy or whatever. And he just like calls other comedy films like just like not real movies or whatever. And then it's just like, oh, they're like lazy and cheap. But then like he shows like, oh, Edgar Wright's great because he makes the most obnoxious and in the face edits possible, and like that's somehow like genius. I don't like it. I really
I've
don't
only
Like
like
I
it.
said, he's
seen
just not.
Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and I thought Shaun of the Dead was delightful and Hot Fuzz was miserable. And then I'm just not interested in Edgar Wright's films, so I don't ever watch them.
It
Yeah.
only gets worse from there. Every movie gets worse from as it goes on. Well, actually, Soho is okay at times, but whatever.
No.
I think I'll stick by the
Soho is like
trilogy
his
just
worst.
because I think its intentions are so humble. That I feel like he didn't really have pretensions of artistry until after
Baby
he
Driver's so
exited.
bad.
Yeah, no, he's just like
Like
likes
Scott
movies and he's
Pilgrim
just
is
like
when he
an
started.
ignorant fuck.
Scott Pilgrim is when he started fancying himself an artist, I think, and kind of just
I
went
think
off.
like Baby Driver especially suffers from the whole thing of like he's like he just loves like I really hate it when directors do this. I'd rather them just like embrace like action violence or just like but if they want to critique it, it's almost like he wants to have his cake and eat it too, where he does like this so elaborate like action violent scenes, but then it's like but then like somebody gets murdered or something, and then suddenly it's like, oh, everything is this is morally bad. It's just like it's so grating how he moralizes his own films and then just counteracts that because he knows it's
I
cool. It's so annoying.
It is really
it
fucking
in
annoying.
the spirit of that, I watched The World's End, a movie that is like adamantly against alcoholism, insanely drunk, and I was just like, wow, I'm defying Edgar Wright. It's all right. Be
Oh
fair, it's
no,
The
he's
World's End.
criticizing me.
He's criticizing me. I realized that. I shed a tear because I was like, Edgar Wright doesn't like me.
Right.
What more do you want?
His films guarantee big laughs and even bigger visuals.
Yeah,
English
his visuals
filmmaker
are
Edgar
fucking
Wright
annoying.
arrived on the scene in 2004 with the hysterical zombie flick Shaun of the Dead.
I do kind of like that movie.
I should rewatch it.
The box office smash was the first production of the Cornetto trilogy, which also featured Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in the follow-ups Hot Fuzz and The World's End.
Oh, yes.
Wright created a visual wonderland for the 2010 film Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and even wrote The Adventures of Tintin for Steven Spielberg.
No
I
way.
didn't know that. I didn't know that.
What do we all think of Tintin?
I hate it.
I've never
Truly
seen
an
it.
innovative mind, Edgar Wright always
I don't know what
offers
Isabelle
Innovative?
thinks of
Yeah,
Tintin.
he's up there with Godard.
I'll watch it eventually.
All right.
Number 3, Thomas McCarthy.
All right, I don't have Google
Who?
with me. Who is this? What did
Okay,
he
so
do?
this guy did all right. This guy
What was he
did
in?
Spotlight, which I think is
Oh.
awful.
Oh, Boston classic.
Oh my God.
So
seen it.
in fairness to this video, this was made before he won the Oscar for that.
It's
yeah, it
the
was made
director of The
years ago.
Cobbler. It's...
No.
Let's go.
Do you want to just continue?
I don't
All
give
right,
a
you
shit
guys
about
ready?
this
Just
guy.
continue.
Three,
Trans
two,
rights
fuck
win
this.
again.
3, 2,
Trans
1,
rights.
go.
Doctor, thank you for coming.
The 2003 Sundance
The Academy
Film
sees a
Festival
movie
established
set
this
in
accomplished
Boston,
actor as a
instant
potent
Best
force
Picture.
behind the camera.
That's what I
Oh,
want.
actually, Station
Thomas
Agent
McCarthy's
isn't too
feature
bad.
debut, The Station Agent, earned numerous accolades, including
Seems like all he does is pander.
I actually kind of like that. I mean,
But it's
it's
pandering.
not too bad, but it's mainly just Peter Dinklage that stalls it.
Well, he's
This-
great in everything.
McCarthy's
Yeah,
follow-up
It's
He's the one
it's
that
especially
sells it.
amusing that this is the
Visitor
first one on the
chronicled a
list to have an
middle-aged New
actual
Yorker's
case to being
identity crisis
underrated
after
given their
9/11.
place in like culture. It's
Did you
just
go
that
to
it's
your
an actual
deportation
bad
hearing?
director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michigan.
Yeah, we did everything
Like
we
this
could
is
with
someone that
These
someone
films
like I'm like,
investigate
all
the
right, you have a
mindsets of
reason to
emotionally
argue this
damaged
person's
individuals
underrated because
who
they
discover
sure
the
are rated
proverbial light
low,
through the
but
unlikeliest
because
of
they
characters.
deserve
I
it.
don't think Station Agent's too bad, but
McCarthy doesn't make films often, but when he does, he's the most interesting man alive.
Take your shot and put him away. Okay? Yeah?
Number 2, Ryan.
This was 7 years
Oh,
ago.
this one's interesting. Oh, we lost Zach for a second. Let's pause. I think he probably crashed.
Recording stopped.
He's dead.
Yeah, he
He's
definitely
gone.
You all right, buddy?
Yeah, Rian Johnson appeared on my screen and everything crashed.
And I
guess,
like Brick a lot.
I do quite like. I do, yeah. I actually am quite a. I do quite like Brick. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt's really good in that. But I uh, I haven't seen Looper because I go full CinemaSins mode when it comes to time travel like plot holes.
Same here.
I just it's some reason that's just one thing that just because I just feel like it's just sloppy writing if you don't think about like how you're making like
Yeah,
this whole
no. I'm like
system
a
of-
I'm like a full monkeys person myself.
Oh, 12 Monkeys is great. But
I like Looper all right. I think it's fine.
so we
but-
actually like as far I haven't seen the Knives Out films yet, but I did
It's okay.
I think Last Jedi is all right. I don't know. I feel like it's just like I feel like it's mainly just losers and assholes that complain about it, but at the same time it's not really that great.
Knives Out is like the most bizarre thing ever to me. It's like the most bizarre like artifact of film right now because like the whole thing
That's
in the
so.
first one is like, what if the most obvious scenario for this plot happens? And then it happens at the halfway point, and then he writes a whole like another hour of movie to go after it. Then he gets a sequel and he's just like, I'm gonna do the same thing again. And he does the exact same thing again. He writes the exact same movie twice. And I'm just like, damn. I was saying the other, I think the review I posted for it was something like, the first time you do that, it's kind of annoying. The second time, it's like, I can't even be mad because you're just realizing you can grift and make money off being a complete hack. It's like, I can't even be mad. You're doing
I
exactly what
don't.
you set
I
out to
actually
do.
don't. I actually don't view the guy
Like,
as a hack.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
fool me
I'm a
twice.
fucking
Yeah,
idiot.
that's basically what I said. I was like, the first time you pull
I'm a
this shit, it's
dumbass.
annoying. The second time you do the exact same movie, that's just fucking funny. That's just like you and it's like all of his movies since like after this video dropped were all for like film students basically. It's all I'm gonna do like shit that appeals to like film dudes, and that's about
I really
it.
like Brick, and actually really like the Brothers Bloom as well.
I haven't
Um,
seen that. I haven't seen that. But
but I wouldn't say it was ever underrated. I feel like Brick always had
I,
a pretty big audience around it.
I was gonna say, I guess I can see like 7 years ago, someone hearing Rian Johnson and being like, "Yeah, I think that guy will become interesting with time."
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not
I
talking
think
about
seven
underrated
years ago,
director.
Rian Johnson was like, "Watch this space," like he was gonna.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, he's
Brett?
guy under 40 or whatever that's gonna do interesting
Yeah.
things, and I
Hmm.
guess
Well,
objectively he did. Like he's definitely a
Oh yeah,
discussion
he really
topic, whether you
monopolized
like.
film criticism for like 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
For
he
like
like
a
launched.
movie he didn't
Yeah.
even direct because it was directed by Disney execs, and that is not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not, and nothing of people talk about with regards to The Last Jedi is Rian Johnson's doing. But
Yeah,
that's
no,
just
they just
me.
complain about fucking story shit. They don't talk about direction at all.
Yeah, I really, again, I have my one conspiracy theory is that the controversy was manufactured. But
Now I'm also just wondering, like would he still be on here if it was made like 2 years
a year
ago?
later,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
like just immediately after Last Jedi, you mean? Like, or
yeah.
yeah, it's weird. I don't
No,
know.
because I think before
He,
Force Awakens, you can get away with putting JJ on here.
Yeah.
I disagree, but I
I
respect
guess.
the comment nonetheless.
Well, I
I
mean, by the
respect
by the by the rubric of this thing, it'd be like, hey, he made Super 8,
Yeah, but he also made Mission Impossible 3, which is
which is
pretty.
underrated or
True.
what?
I mean, it's the worst Mission Impossible movie, bar none,
Which is
but
really
it's
hard to do because they're all terrible except for Woo's.
no, they're good. Christopher McQuarrie, tourism. That's my
Christopher
Well,
McQuarrie is
underrated.
didn't he
terrible.
underutilize like the best actor of all time, Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yeah, he's good in that movie. I just hate the movie around him.
Wait. Hold on. Is Rob Reiner gonna be number one? Is he not gonna be on the
He's
list?
got to be an honorable mention, hopefully.
Okay.
The honorable
Okay.
mention: Stanley
Let's
Kubrick,
continue.
Rob Reiner, Ingmar Bergman.
So now I'm very, very curious what you're gonna say next.
An eruption of cinematic glory. That's what happens whenever Rian Johnson.
An
An
eruption of
eruption of
cinematic glory.
cinematic glory.
What fucking
Sorry.
wording?
His
Jeez.
2005 neo
My favorite part in Looper is when they try to make up Joseph Gordon-Levitt to explain the in-between period where he's not quite Bruce Willis yet, but he's not quite Joseph Gordon-Levitt anymore. And so they paste Bruce Willis's hairline on Joseph Gordon-Levitt's head and try to give him his chin.
Sci-fi smash
I liked Paul Dano in Looper. It was really cool.
I forgot he's in that!
He was really
I
cool.
forgot he's in.
I've liked
Undeniably
Paul
original,
Dano ever since I saw
absolutely
There Will Be
awesome.
Blood.
This brilliant filmmaker is only getting started.
I've liked him since The Girl Next Door.
Before we unveil our
You know what that is? It's an
here are
eruption
a
of
few
cinematic
honorable
glory.
mentions.
So
All right.
morning when I come, when they see me,
Wait,
they
is this
know
Chop
me.
What?
So they follow me to open my shop.
Really?
Yeah, this is a good film.
You know, for me, I wanted to study a
What
family.
is this
and a
movie?
class, and that's
David
what
Ayer?
Oh God.
It's these five guys.
Like I like movies
Does
where
he
I
make
sort of,
fun?
like the
Okay,
subject
I
Oh
agree. Ben
God.
Stiller is
on
underrated
some
as
level,
fuck.
and I connect with
Ben
him
Stiller is a
personally.
great director.
Wait, did he make Cable Guy? Because I kind of like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
he
Did he
did.
make
movie.
War?
He made
Did he make
Reality Bites,
Warcraft?
which is really the most
I didn't
important one.
realize you were keeping the video going. I thought you were pausing for every other
Not at the
one.
honorable mention. I'm pausing at number
Oh,
one.
David
We can.
Bowie's son's movie?
I don't like David Bowie's
Yeah,
son's
just
movies.
let me know when you get to number one,
I'm at number
Isabelle.
one.
I'm at
I'm,
number one.
I'm at number one.
Do you see it? Do you see it? Will you stand with me here? Will you stand by me?
This is insane.
All
All
right,
right.
Princess Bride is good. A Few Good Men is atrocious, but to be fair, only half of that is the fault of its writer.
The very
Uh,
notion that Rob Reiner is underrated, I think, is psychotic. I don't understand. In what planet?
I
yeah, that's kind
agree.
of weird. It's like most underrated comedians, Chevy Chase, number one. It's just like he's pretty
Yeah,
mainstream.
underrated
It's like
comedian Jerry Lewis.
it's so
Uh,
like confusing, the
if
notion.
anything, he is overrated.
Yeah, I
Most
kind of agree with it.
underrated Swedish art house directors.
This
Marvel.
writer got a bet that said, "I bet you can't put Kelly Reichardt and Rob Reiner on the same list," and he said, "Watch me." No, Rob
Top
Reiner.
10
I don't
most
even think he's a good
underrated
filmmaker.
shows about a
I don't think he's a good filmmaker. I think that like a lot of what makes the films that he makes kind of iconic have nothing to do with him. Put a camera on River Phoenix acting for like the first time ever, and like it will be kind of iconic and cinematic. The one we're looking at right now, Spinal Tap. This is like the brainchild of Christopher Guest and Michael McKean and shit, who went on to do Best in Show and prove that they were really the brains behind
Yeah, he
this
was like,
operation.
yeah. This is Spinal Tap is like the whole. A lot of it's like improv, and then and he's just like one of four writers.
Yeah.
I don't even
And
want to
like,
credit
he didn't
Rob
even
with
edit
Spinal
it.
Tap. I don't want to credit him with Spinal Tap. It's Christopher Guest and Michael McKean and forget the guy from The Simpsons, the one who plays bass in it. Like they're the real geniuses behind this.
What about what else did he do? I never saw Misery, but it looks decent.
Misery's okay.
yeah,
It's
but that's
pretty
just
good.
Stephen King. Like
Yeah,
it's just
and
people
Yeah, he's
like
just
that movie for the
adapting a
Stephen
Stephen King
Kingism.
book. A Princess Bride
It's
is
like
pretty good.
it's almost
Mm,
impossible to adapt Stephen King because you're always just kind of grifting his entire aesthetic unless you're Kubrick and then everyone hates you for it.
Hey,
But
Rob Reiner was great in Wolf of Wall
He
Street.
was great in Wolf of Wall Street.
the
I
Rob
like the
Reiner
part where he's
auteurism
yelling
has like
about money.
this has the same energy as like Robert Zemeckis auteurism. It's
yeah, like
like
Ron Howard. Like this is what I think.
What do you
Ron
mean
Howard
Robert Zemeckis
auteurism.
auteurism? It doesn't exist.
Well, apparently it does because In Review Online was talking about how Forrest Gump is actually goated. But
What are they, a fucking conservative asshat?
no, but like
What
from the same angle as like Steven Spielberg was always goated, like in an Eisenstein kind of way. They're like Forrest Gump was actually an artistic masterpiece.
Forrest
Like
Well,
Gump?
that.
keep in
Oh
mind.
god.
Keep in mind, Rob Reiner also made A Few Good Men, Sleepless in
Yeah, that movie
Seattle,
sucked. Like the
Story
worst
of
paced
Us,
movie I've ever
Anything
Rumor
good
Has
about
seen.
that
It,
movie is
The
Sorkin's script.
Magic of Belle Isle,
Yeah, and
The
Sorkin
North.
is like the worst
Yeah, he's like a
screenwriter of the
dard.
past 20 years. So it says a
No,
lot that he made the
he's not though. He's not the worst screenwriter of the last 20 years. That's
I
complete
hate
tomfoolery.
Sorkin
What are you doing?
so much. I hate Sorkin.
Well, you don't even like The Social Network? What
I like it because Fincher
and that
has
Steve
complete
Jobs movie
contempt.
wasn't like
Well,
wonderfully written?
well, yeah, like Sorkin kind of sucks because like with the Social Network, it was just completely rewritten by Fincher because he just ghostwrites all of his movies.
It wasn't completely rewritten
Does
by
he?
Fincher, as
Well, yeah,
evidenced by
It's
the
no.
fact
more
that Fincher doesn't
it's
write
more that
well.
I
Literally
think
every
Fincher's
Fincher's such a
perspective is
perfectionist that
completely
like in a lot of his
antithetical
work
to
that he just like ghostwrites a lot of it.
I've
I
never heard
I
that
don't
before.
know if he
I
ghost
learned
wrote
it from
it.
Rowan.
I just
There's
think
no
that
way he
Fincher's
ghost wrote it.
perspective I just think his perspective is completely antithetical to like everything Sorkin believes. So like Sorkin can write down anything he wants, but Fincher kind of undermines it every step of the way just by the way he frames shit.
Oh, I wouldn't expect a
Um,
bunch of extremists to understand that the first season of The West Wing is actually beautiful. I wouldn't expect
I
extremists
mean,
like you.
you're talking to. I just hate screenplays on principle. We gotta
What?
get rid of
What
that
kind of
shit.
take is this? The drop at the
So
end
as
of a
soon
This
as
is
a
video
why I
you hate
don't use
screenwriter,
screenplays?
screenplays for my film.
As soon as a screenwriter gets clout, I'm like, nah, no, we gotta cancel that motherfucker.
I don't
I
think
agree.
Sorkin's like phenomenal, but I do think he's distinctive, and
Why are we talking about as Sorkin instead of Rob Reiner?
because anyone is more interesting
What is
than
there to
Rob
talk about with
Reiner.
Rob Reiner? He's like a good
Princess Bride
actor
is
in like
great.
one scene in Wolf of Wall Street.
Princess
Well, I'm
Bride is
crazy enough to
good.
say that Molly's Game was good and directed by Sorkin. It was good.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Oh, Zach, you dropped your boot while licking it. Do you want me to get it for you?
Licking like Aaron Sorkin's boot?
Yeah.
I
You
hope
thought
everybody.
Jane and I were gonna fight. It was actually me and Zach.
Because
Yeah,
you're
well, I
like,
hope
I
everybody.
hate screenplays. I don't know what you even mean.
Oh, God, I love my life.
Sorkin's a tough
Yeah,
one
just
to
like the
defend
French
because he
with
is
me.
so objectively lame at the same
For the
time.
record,
So
my
top.
my
I actually
my
don't really
issues
think
with
so.
A Few Good Men is literally just like it took me 6 fucking hours to watch it. I'm watching and pausing every 5 seconds because I'm like, what is the pacing in this movie? Is it over yet? Is
I
it
get
the
what you're saying. Like
middle? Is it the
Sorkin's writing can
climax?
be so complex, you have to rewind it so you make sure you
No,
hear it.
it's like I have no idea what part of the story I'm in. They tell you the exact solution to the problem in the opening 5 minutes, and it's just like goes on for two and a
Is
half
it, you sound
hours.
like someone who can't handle the truth, honestly.
Jack Nicholson saves that movie, but
I mean,
and Tom Cruise, but I love Tom Cruise. I'm
Demi
biased.
Moore was great in it. Kiefer Sutherland and Kevin Bacon. You're talking about a
I
terrible
I
movie, though. This is a bad movie. I'm not even sure why I'm defending it. But The Social Network's wonderful. So is the Steve Jobs
yeah,
movie. Molly's Game's
I like
fine. West
Social
Wing was
Network.
good.
Steve Jobs, I don't really give a shit about. Social Network is good though.
I
Okay,
like
so
the
Rob
fact
Reiner.
that Rob Reiner was
What do
name
we think
dropped
of
in
the
MF
bucket
Doom
list?
song.
Wait, did
What
he
do we
make
think
the
of the
bucket list?
bucket list?
Wait, did he
Yeah, he
make
made
that?
the bucket list with
That's
Morgan
what I
Freeman
think
and
of Rob
Jack
Reiner.
Nicholson.
Like, of course he
I don't
did.
think
I
he did.
He did.
what I
He
think that
did?
might have been
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson's last movie too.
Really?
Oh God.
Possibly. That was around the time he
Yeah, no,
retired. He
it's Rob
retired
Reiner.
he retired
Jeez.
like not long after The Departed, like a few
Wow.
years after that. So,
I didn't even know that.
yeah. Um When Harry Met Sally, I'll probably never see that movie.
Stand By Me's alright.
All right.
We all
Bye,
agreed that
guys.
Being Charlie is
Yeah.
goated, right? We all put Being Charlie at the top of our 2015 lists.